randomly I can take the any value from that. That's why it is called as a random access memory. You can access any memory location randomly without traversing through the path or the increasing or decreasing order. And this is in contrast with the sequential access memory. So there is one more type of memory is there, which is known as sequential access memory, where the desired memory location is accessed only by traversing through this or seeking method, something like your magnetic tape. Right, I think in the magnetic tape, suppose I think you should have studied about this cassette tape recorders. If you want to go to the third song, which is stored in the third location, then you have to fast forward your cassette recorder, right? So you cannot straight away go to the third song, third location. So you have to pass through the first, second at a faster speed, then you can start playing your third song in the magnetic cassettes tapes. So there are a few things, right? We cannot straight away go to that, and we have to traverse through the complete process or complete data in order to go to the particular locations. So the magnetic tapes and CD-ROMs are some examples of sequential access memories. And then this random access memory, how they can be classified, right? So this is actually called as a random access memory or read-write memory, and the types are SRAM, DRAM and NVRAM. So SRAM means static RAM, DRAM means dynamic RAM, NVRAM means non-volatile RAM. What is meant by a static RAM? The static RAM stores the data in terms of voltage, right? So the voltage, of course we know, right? So there will be one particular voltage to represent the logic 1, one voltage for represent the logic 0. So that voltage will be stored. And they are made up of flip-flops. Already you should have studied about flip-flops, something like RS flip-flop, JK flip-flop, and master slave flip-flop, TD. There are plenty of types of 5 flip-flop types of flip-flop. Already you might have studied it. And each and every flip-flop can store 1 bit of information or 1 bit of data. Again, that you should be knowing it, right? And the static RAM is the fastest form of RAM available, and fast due to its resistive networking and switching capabilities. So it will be consisting of a few transistors and the resistive network, and the switching will be very faster. That is the 1 to 0 transition or 0 to 1 transition. So when we draw the lines like the 1 to 0 transition, we will be drawing a straight line, a vertical line, assuming within 0 seconds or with a very short period the transition happens. But in the actual case, it will not be an immediate transition, but it will take some finite times, right? A finite time in order to transfer from state 1 to state 0 or state 0 to state 1, right? Of course, the static RAM is fast, already we have discussed. And in typical implementation, a SRAM cell is realized using 6 transistors or 6 MOSFETs, right? And transistors and MOSFETs, already you might have studied the electronics. Of course, we need not bother. But that will be realized or that will be fabricated using 6 transistors, and 4 of the transistors are used for building the flip-flop and 2 are for controlling the access, right? So 4 are useful. I think you should have studied about this flip-flops, right? So a basic RS flip-flop using NAND gate or NOR gate, right? So basically the operation of the flip-flop, already of course I explained you in the class. 2 inverters are in series and the second output is given to the input, right? The feedback, so that the data will be always retained, right? We are going to see that again here. So what is actually the SRAM? On the left hand side, you can see that is actually the SRAM cell implementation. So what is it? How it works, right? I think in the middle you can see 2 diagrams, right? One is on the upper and the second one is slightly lower, right? Both diagrams are equivalent. And there are 2 ways of representing this MOSFETs, right? I think the lower one is better, right? So I take that as for the explanation. Here actually what happens, here an applied voltage V is actually given, right? So here in the upper side we are going to have an VDD. Here on the lower side we are going to have a ground. When we apply the 1 voltage, right, at the V in 1, then what will happen? This lower MOSFET will be enabled, right? We can call it as a PMOS, or the upper one can be an NMOS. So the PMOS will be enabled or it will be short circuited. So my V out will be connected to ground. Am I right? So V in equal to 1. So the PMOS will be on. So the lower PMOS will be switched on, so it is connected to, output is connected to ground. So if the input is 1, my output is 0. So it is an inverter normally, right? You should be knowing if the input is 1, output is 0, right? We will take the other case. Suppose if the input is 0, then what will happen? Since the input is 0, the upper side NMOS, which is connecting the VDD and Vout, will be on. So the Vout is going to be your VDD, which is actually the power supply. So if the input is 1, the output will be 0. If the input is 0, the output will be 1. So this is the circuit of an inverter. Right. So having seen this inverter, we will come to the figure on the left hand side. On the left hand side, you can see in the middle you have 4 transistors or 4 MOSFETs, right? So they are connected back to back. So there are 2 inverters are available, and inside you can see there are 2 horizontal lines, right? So one horizontal line is connected to the output of one inverter to the input of the other inverter. I think you might have experienced the same thing in your JK flip-flop, right? Or I have explained in the class, the output of one inverter is connected to output of another inverter. Again, that's a feedback. So when you connect the output of one inverter to the input of another inverter, so what happens? There will be a feedback will be connected. So the middle 4 transistors will form 2 inverters which are connected back to back. So that forms a flip-flop. And there are 2 transistors or MOSFETs on one on the left hand side and one on the right hand side, which are useful for controlling the inputs. Right? Suppose if you want to write some data, what I have to do is I have to enable the left side MOSFET or transistor so that the data will come inside. And if you switch off, the data will be permanently stored in the flip-flop. If you want to read the data, you have to enable the right side MOSFET or transistor so that the data can be read out, right? So it's a combination. We can call it as a transistor, but MOSFET is actually normally used, right? So everything is full of the MOSFETs. And on the diagram that is on the right hand side, you can see how the same operation is going down. So a bit 1 is placed. I think you can see a green color arrow, right? By switching on that first MOSFET, the data gets into the flip-flop section, so that is stored permanently. And if you want to write the data, you can read the data through the other point, so you can do that, right? So this is the way I can write a data into the static RAM, and this is how the data is stored in the static RAM. Right, I think this diagram should be better explained, right? I think I should have seen this. So here you can see the back-to-back 2 transistors, 2 inverters are connected here, right? Supposing in the write control, right? You can see the diagram, there's a write control. If the write control is 1, then what will happen? Suppose the data to write on the left extreme is 1, then this 1 will come into this through the write control, and it will get into the inverter, 2 inverters back to back. So the value will be always retained inside the loop. And if you want to read the content, write 1 in the read output. On the right hand side, there is a read control, so that whatever data that is available will be read out through the data read. Right? So this is actually the simple visualization of the static RAM. And the access to the memory cell is controlled by word line, which controls the access right. So how the static RAM can be used, right? I think by asserting the lines, word line, right? By activating the transistors or MOSFETs, we can call it as Q5 and Q6, I can read the data and write the data, right? I think by making B equal to 1 and B invert equal to 0, right? So you can put data 1 into that loop, a back-to-back inverters, right? And if you want to make it high, again you make your input transistor as 1, again put the new value. So this operation continuously latches whatever the data available to the input at that back-to-back inverters, right? And the second type of RAM is called a dynamic RAM, and in this case actually the RAM data is stored in the form of charge. So what is actually a charge? That is the charge available or stored in a capacitor. And there is always a possibility the capacitor will always have leaking the charge, right? So we need to periodically recharge the capacitor. Only then the charge will be retained or the data will be retained, right? That is actually a main problem with this dynamic RAM. We have to periodically recharge it. Fine. And similar to the previous case, they are made up of so many MOS transistor gates, and the advantage is it's a high density and low cost compared to SRAM. Right, it has high density. With a small area I can pack more number of data, and lower cost compared to SRAM. And the disadvantage is, since the information is stored in the charge, it gets leaked off. So in order to prevent this leaking, I have to periodically recharge. It has to be refreshed to recharge, right? That is actually called as the disadvantage of the dynamic RAM. And the special circuits called DRAM controllers are used for refreshing the operation, right? So we have specific DRAM controllers are there in order to periodically refresh the data. And the refresh operation is done periodically in milliseconds of interval. That is again very important, right? So the diagram on the right hand side, you can see there is a bit line B, there is a word line, and if the word line is given, whatever the data available in the bit line, right? Say for example, assume data 1 is available in the logic 1 is available in the bit line. So logic 1 may be represented by 5 volts in a TTL logic, just for example I am saying, right? So if the word line is enabled, what will happen? That 5 volts will be connected to this transistor, the capacitor, sorry, and the capacitor will be charged with the 5 volt. Alright, suppose if the word line becomes 0, the capacitor doesn't have any path to discharge, so the 5 volts will be retained. But of course, as I said, there will be a leakage current which will be leaking through. But even then, the voltage will be stored the charge will be stored in the capacitor. The data will be stored in the capacitor. On the left hand side, you can see the value is moved to 1, but the charge decreases exponentially. You can see, right? When the value becomes something above the threshold, then I have to recharge it. I have to refresh it. So the value of 1 will be retained. So the refreshing cycle is available as shown in the diagram that is on your left hand side of the screen, right? So this is actually the simple image of a dynamic RAM. And the comparison between the static RAM and dynamic RAM is given in this table. The SRAM is made up of 6 CMOS transistors, while the DRAM is made up of a single MOSFET and a capacitor as shown in the diagram. SRAM, it doesn't require refreshing because the voltage is, the data is stored as a voltage. So the voltage, most probably it will not leak out, will be there. But in the case of DRAM, the data is stored as a charge, so the capacitor may leak. So it needs a periodic refreshing. And low capacity or less dense, the DRAM is high capacity or high dense because only one transistor is required. For SRAM, we need 6 transistors, right? That's the difference. SRAM is more expensive, DRAM is less expensive, and SRAM will be fast in operation. Typical access time is 10, I think it should be nanoseconds or milliseconds, whatever it is, and DRAM is slow in operation due to the refresh requirements, right? So this is actually a simple comparison between this DRAM and SRAM. And the next type of RAM is going to be a non-volatile RAM. That's in short we call it as a NVRAM. And it's a random access memory with a battery backup, right? So it contains a static RAM based memory and a minute battery for providing supply to the memory in the absence of external power. Suppose if the external power fails, the battery that is attached to the RAM will provide that power supply so that the contents will not be lost. And the memory and battery are packed together in a single package, and the lifespan of NVRAM is expected to be around 10 years. And this is one example of NVRAM type already we have discussed.